Hello, welcome to Library Connection. I'm Mandi Cantrell with the B.B. Comer Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. Today I've chosen 3 books to read. These are all true stories, and in each of these books they're quite different, but in each one there is a problem that has to be solved, and I always like to see the fun and unique ways that people choose to solve their problems. The first book is A Giraffe Goes to Paris by Mary Tavener Holmes and John Harris. Shh, look. The moon over Paris. And there in the moonlight, what is that? A giraffe. My giraffe, Belle. The French people call her the Belle Enfant des Tropiques, the beautiful child from the tropics, which she was and is. There are French words in this, and I don't speak French, but I'll do my best. She was a present from the great Pasha of Egypt, Muhammad Ali, to the King of France, Charles X. No one in France had ever seen a giraffe. No one. So she was the perfect present. I was chosen to take care of Belle on her long, long journey from Egypt. My name, I should tell you, is Atir. First, we went on a boat trip on the ancient river Nile. Belle and I and men from the Pasha's court. And what, you may ask, does a giraffe eat while floating down the river Nile? Giraffes, after all, nibble on treetops, but where would Belle find treetops in the middle of a mighty river? And what would she eat on the even longer trip to France? We thought and decided she should drink milk. Milk was the best idea, but a young giraffe, Belle was only 2, drinks a lot of milk, which is why we brought 3 cows with us, and to keep Belle company, 2 antelopes. Once we got Belle on board the ship, we saw right away that there was another problem, a big problem. Belle wasn't going to fit. It was too dangerous to keep her above on the deck, and she was too tall to sail in the cramped quarters below. It was then that our Italian captain came up with a brilliant idea. He cut a hole in the deck so Belle's long, graceful neck could poke out. He lined the hole with straw to protect her from the rough, splintery edges. He provided an umbrella to protect her from the sun and rain. And off we went. Our destination, France. When Belle walked calmly down the gangplank, the people of Marseille could not believe their eyes. Never in their lives had they seen such a creature. She was 12 feet tall, and what was she exactly? They could not decide. Was she some kind of camel? She had spots like a leopard's. She had a long tongue, almost like a snake's, and she walked so strangely. First her 2 right legs, then her 2 left legs. So she was not a horse. What was she? Everyone had a different idea. Belle and I stayed in the private home of a rich lady, a countess, who threw lavish parties in Belle's honor. The parties were fun. But remember, we had to get to Paris to the king who was awaiting Belle's arrival 500 miles away. How? We were all tired of boat trips. Belle was too. And no cart was big enough to hold her. Belle seemed to be enjoying her strolls around the city of Marseille. Why not walk to Paris? So that's what we did. But we would need help, someone to lead such a complicated operation. Who? We thought and thought until the rich lady said, Geoffrey St. Hilaire. He's the great professor at the Museum of Natural History in Paris. He's a friend of mine, and he could do it. Professor St. Hilaire took charge immediately and devised a plan. Over a period of 8 weeks, we would walk with Belle the entire way from Marseille to Paris. But Belle, like any traveler setting out on a long journey, would need to have the right clothes. She had arrived in France without so much as a raincoat. And a raincoat, in fact, was precisely what she needed to protect her from the rain, the sun, and the wind. France is not Egypt, and we did not want her catching a cold in her long, long throat. We came up with a waterproof outfit, a blanket that buttoned around her body, embroidered on one side with the coat of arms of France and on the other with the coat of arms of the Pasha of Egypt. It was edged in heavy black braid. She wore it as a cape around her neck. This looked very good on her, and, I am serious, boots. Yes, boots. She was not used to walking such long distances. We set out. French gendarmes in front, the cows, one or two Egyptians in full dress, then the professor, Belle in her finery, horses drawing a wagon loaded with supplies, the antelopes, and some sheep. Crowds lined the roads. People were hanging from the trees to get closer to her when she nibbled on the leaves. I'm not sure what they were expecting. A wild beast? A ferocious creature? Instead, they saw Belle, my Belle, gentle and elegant, the best dressed animal in the world, and she didn't make a sound. We stopped at inns that put out special signs. Auberge à la Giraffe. Church bells rang as we made our way through the air that smelled of lavender and lilac and roses. The fields were thick with olive groves, poppies, and grapevines. The newspapers announced we were coming, and people streamed out to see us. We made our way through cities with magical names. Aix-en-Provence, the town of 1,000 fountains, Avignon, the ancient city where the popes once lived, then onward through Orange and Valence to so many towns saw Belle. On June 6, 1827, we arrived in Lyons. Belle walked gracefully under the city gate and into the beautiful Place Bellecourt, where 30,000 people came to see her in a single day. Oh, it was grand. But Paris was, as always, our destination. Paris and the King. Paris began to prepare for Belle's arrival. Paris began to go crazy. There were giraffe songs, poems, paintings, pottery, fabrics, cough drop boxes, wallpaper, toys, inkwells, jewelry, and gingerbread cookies. There was a giraffe piano with strings going straight up the neck and a giraffe hairdo with wire inside. The hairdo was so tall that a wealthy lady wearing it would have to sit on the floor of her carriage to fit inside. On July 9, 1827, the great moment finally arrived. Belle met the King and ate rose petals out of his hand. The King's children petted her beautifully, spotted legs. The Grand Duchess de Berry hung a garland of flowers around Belle's neck. And as for me, the King gave me a tear, 1,000 francs. So began our 18 years in Paris. In the first 6 months, more than 600,000 Parisians came to see us, paid to see us. Dressed in my best, my white turban, my fancy vest, and my white Egyptian pants, I would take Belle out on a leisurely 2-hour walk through the lovely Jardin des Plantes, where the Parisians had made a home for us in the rotunda. The people would watch us, not believing their eyes. In the rotunda, I have a small sleeping balcony in Belle's specially heated room. I'm right up near her head, so I can pet her. Shh, Belle is getting sleepy, and I am too. But before we both drift off, let's take one last look together at the moon. Bonne nuit, ma chérie Belle. All right, this is a true story. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be right back after a commercial break, and I've got a couple of other books to read. Hope you'll join us.
While you're at home with family for the next few weeks, don't put off scheduling home repairs. Call Ox Foundation for a free estimate. With more time at home, you tend to notice things you haven't in the past. Mold and moisture in your basement or crawl space, uneven driveways, stair-step cracks in your exterior brick, uneven floors and doors. If your home is showing weakness, it's time to get strong. How strong? Ox Strong. Stay strong, Alabama.
A funeral service represents a family's final farewell to their loved ones. Knowing this, we go beyond what is expected to ensure the ceremony is beautiful and memorable, a truly fitting tribute to that special life. We invite you to visit us to meet our staff and tour our renovated facility complete with a new dining area and catering services. We've been serving the people of this area for over 40 years, and we think that you'll be pleased to find that making lasting impressions remains our first priority. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg.
We're facing unprecedented times, and prayer and positive thought are antidotes for our anxiety. Please continue your prayers for our medical profession, our leaders, our first responders, and those afflicted with this virus. My name is Mark Ledbetter, president of the Coosa Valley Ministerial Association, and I encourage you to reach out to local pastors for any spiritual or emotional needs. God will see us through these trying times.
Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back. The next book I'd like to read is called Queen Victoria's Bathing Machine. You can see how her husband helped to make her happy and solve her problem. Queen Victoria looked out at the sea. It was blue, it was cool, it was nice as could be. The day was so hot, the sun was so bright, her petticoats itched and her corset was tight. She whispered a wish, it was only a whim, how grand it would be to go for a swim. Her lady-in-waiting collapsed on the floor. I've never heard such nonsense before. Impossible, she cried. It would be a disgrace to see more of the queen than her hands and her face. How would she get from the beach to the water without showing more of herself than she ought to? The queen sighed a sigh. I'll give up the notion. I'll never be allowed to enter the ocean. For how can I swim if I wear all my clothes, my petticoats and dresses, my shoes and my hose? They'd get so drippy and slushy and soggy and sodden, and down I would sink, right down to the bottom. My dear, said Prince Albert, if it is your wish to dabble and splatter and swim like a fish, there must be a way to transport you with ease while keeping the populace from glimpsing your knees. I'll give all my genius and all my attention to devise a device, to invent an invention. Albert was learned, Albert was bright, Albert was nearly always right. He'd been everywhere from Denmark to Munich. He'd studied old wars, both Spartan and Punic. His knowledge of battles no one could fault. He'd read dozens of books on the catapult. It hurled heavy rocks into the air, chucking them easily from here to there. Victoria, dear, it might be romantic to be launched from your window into the Atlantic, moving so quickly you never would show as much of a peak of your royal toe. But Albert, the English, you know how they shoot partridge and pheasants, mergansers and coot. Whatever is up in the air they bring down and roast it and toast it to a crispy brown to have for their breakfast, to have with their tea. I'm sure you don't wish that to happen to me. Just after midnight, Albert sprang from the bed. A brilliant idea had come into his head. Wake up, dear Victoria, your worries are over. You can swim all the way from Osborne to Dover. They waltzed and they berserked, they danced a polka or two, then collapsed on their bed with their nightcaps askew. First thing in the morning, Albert got busy. His imperial demands made everyone dizzy. I must have some wood. Quick, cut down a tree. Dig up some stones and send them to me. Give me a wheelwright. Get me a mason. Victoria splashing shan't be confined to a basin. Albert sawed lumber, he pounded some nails, he ordered 4 wheels, he laid down stone rails. He constructed a room with nary a frown. He fashioned a porch with steps to climb down. When all was completed, it was fit for a queen. Victoria, I've made you a bathing machine. Let me tell you, my dear, what I propose. You enter the back door wearing all of your clothes. Off comes your dress, off comes your rings, off come all those unmentionable things. You put on your suit as quick as can be, and the bathing machine will roll into the sea. Once out on the porch, the curtain will hide you while your lady-in-waiting hovers beside you. You climb down the steps in perfect repose, into the ocean right up to your nose. No one will get so much as a peep, except for the creatures down in the deep. You're a genius, dear Albert. I'm truly excited. We'll have all the workmen feted and knighted. She entered the bathing machine by the door. Off came her corset, 10 petticoats, and more. The windows were shuttered from prying eyes, and her lady-in-waiting covered her eyes. Goodbye to the land, goodbye to the turf. Victoria rode the waves and dove into the surf. Dog paddle, butterfly, side stroke, and crawl. The buoyant Victoria attempted them all. She plunged and she pitched, she rolled and she wallowed, with water all around her, some of it swallowed. 2 sailors on a frigate were having a tiff. One said a flatboat, one said a skiff. It might be a schooner that has hoisted a sail. If it gets closer, we'll give it a hail. It's taken the shape of a soup tureen, belaying a vast. I believe it's our queen. There she is, swimming, enjoying herself. Victoria, unaware of her subject's surprise, carried on with her watery exercise. Tuna and turtles and salmon and flounder tickled her toes and swam all around her. With a splash and a skitter and a final rinse, the grateful Victoria returned to her prince. All right, this is a true story. Victoria became Queen of England in 1837 when she was 18. She married her cousin Prince Albert. They had several children, and he did build this for her so she could swim into the ocean. He always thought swimming in the ocean was a good medicine, maybe, like it would help you be in better health. So she was able to use this. It says, after the Queen's death, the bathing machine was used for a time as a chicken coop. And it has now been restored and may be seen by all who visit Osborne House. Well, I thought that was a very creative way to solve that problem for her, and I'm so glad she was able to swim. Please pause for another commercial break, and we'll be right back with another book.
A funeral service represents a family's final farewell to their loved ones. Knowing this, we go beyond what is expected to ensure the ceremony is beautiful and memorable, a truly fitting tribute to that special life. We invite you to visit us to meet our staff and tour our renovated facility complete with a new dining area and catering services. We've been serving the people of this area for over 40 years, and we think that you'll be pleased to find that making lasting impressions remains our first priority. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg.
WOTM is the television provider for all Alabama High School Athletic Association championship events and special programs. WOTM is your home for the Super 7 football, state finals basketball, baseball and softball state championships, the AHSAA weekly show, and WOTM also produced the first ever football playoff show, Super 7 preview show, and reclassification reveal show. Your exclusive home for all things AHSAA is WOTM. Contact your local cable provider to request WOTM to your channel lineup.
Things a little bumpy in your driveway? Ox Foundation Solutions has the expertise and the know-how to repair cracks, wet basements and crawl spaces, and uneven floors in your home. Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. It's time to get strong. How strong? Ox Strong. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I said at the very beginning that each of these books has a problem that has to be solved. This one was real ingenious, I think, the way the man solved this problem. This is called Miracle Mud, Lena Blackburne, and the Secret Mud That Changed Baseball. Lena Blackburne wanted to be a famous baseball player, but instead he discovered mud, baseball mud. His special secret mud changed the game of baseball. Lena didn't set out to find mud. He just wanted to be a great baseball player, but he wasn't. Starting in 1910, Lena played for lots of baseball teams. He played first base, second base, third base, shortstop, and even pitched in one game. No matter how hard he tried, he wasn't good enough to become a star like Cy Young or Babe Ruth. But he wasn't going to be in the Hall of Fame. When his playing days were over, Lena became a coach. One day, an umpire complained to Lena about the baseballs. They were too wet and soft. The soggy balls were hard for pitchers to throw. They were hard for batters to see, and they were hard to hit very far. The umpire was right. The balls were a mess. Brand new baseballs were too shiny and slick, so players soaked them in dirty water. It got rid of the shine, but it also made the ball soggy and soft. Sometimes teams use shoe polish to get rid of the shine, and it turned the balls black. Players even rub balls with spit and tobacco juice. That made the balls stink. There has to be a better way, Lena said, but where would he look? What would take the shine off the balls without hurting them? The next time Lena was home, he went to an old fishing hole. He lived near a river in New Jersey. Splotch! He stepped into some dark brown mud. It was soft and gooey. Lena's boot stuck in the mud. He slowly pulled it out. Then Lena had an idea. He reached down and scooped up some of the dark brown mud. It looked smooth and creamy like chocolate pudding, but it felt gritty. Lena took the mud to the ballpark. He rubbed it on some baseballs and let it dry. Then he wiped them with a cloth. The powdered mud came off easily. The shine was gone, and the balls weren't black or dirty. They didn't smell. They weren't even soft. Lena made a batch of muddy balls for his team. The pitcher threw muddy fastballs, curveballs, changeup, and sinkers. The batters hit muddy singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. It worked. The players loved Lena's magic mud. Now they could use brand new baseballs for each game, as long as they were covered in mud first. Lena went back for more mud. He put it into tubs and started selling it. Lots of teams bought Lena Blackburne's baseball rubbing mud. Lena became a mud farmer. He never told anyone where he got the baseball mud. It was a secret. But it was no secret that the mud worked. Baseball teams have been buying tubs of Lena's mud for close to 75 years. That's millions and millions of muddy baseballs. Lena's mud is the only thing that's allowed on Major League balls. Players can't use water or spit or shoe polish. Just mud. Lena's mud. Lena Blackburne didn't make it into the Baseball Hall of Fame, but his mud did. In 1969, a tub of his magic mud was put on display in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, every spring, teams have a crisp new uniform, brand new bats, squeaky clean cleats, and thanks to Lena, lots and lots of mud. I thought this story was so fun. I want to read you a few of the author's notes in the back. The author is David Kelly. Lena discovered his special mud near his home in New Jersey along the banks of the Delaware River. He started selling it in 1938. At first, Lena only sold the mud to American League teams because he was an American League fan. But by the 1950s, he was selling it to National League teams as well. Lena continued to supply teams with mud until his death in 1968. In his will, Lena left the business to one of his friends, John Haas, who had helped Lena harvest mud. Hans passed the mud farming business on to his son-in-law, Burns Bentliff. Later on, Burns' son, Jim Bentliff, took over. Today, Jim Bentliff owns the business. The official rules of Major League Baseball, Rule 3.01c, require that before a game, the umpire should, among other things, ensure the baseballs to be used are regulation baseballs and that they are properly rubbed so that the gloss is removed. One of the home team's clubhouse attendants typically takes care of rubbing about 72 balls with mud before each game. While baseball mud is used during every game from spring training to the World Series, the mud harvesting season starts in July. Jim and his crew take a boat out to their secret mud hole. They scoop up hundreds of pounds of mud and bring it back to shore. Then comes the super secret part. They store the mucky brown mud in barrels over the winter. Perhaps something special happens in the barrels. We don't know, and they won't tell. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I just love seeing the way all three of these books show that somebody had a problem, something they wanted to overcome, and they did it. They were able to find a really unique way to solve their problems. I hope you will come by the library. These books are available for checkout, and we are open Monday through Thursday from 9 until 5:30. Friday, we're open 9 till 4:30. Yes, I have to get that straight. And then Saturday, we're open 9 until 2:30. We're taking measures to clean everything, letting our books sit so they'll self-sanitize. And so we hope you'll come in and see us very soon. Thank you again for joining me on Library Connection. I hope to see you at the library very soon.